Pesach, of course, is dedicated or expressed fully through the Haggadah, and in the Haggadah we have many songs, many poems added to the Haggadah. Especially at the end, we sing a lot, and of course Pesach is associated with, in the end of Pesach, Yetzias Mitzrayim is to bring us to Kriyat Yamsuf, Oz Yashir Moshe V'nei Yisrael, and many of you are familiar with the fact that the Torah itself calls itself, it has a name, it's Kisvu Lachem Es HaShira Hazot, write this Shira. And while it might refer to a specific parsha, but the whole Torah is Shira. With this introduction, let's talk about, or learn, better yet, Sefat Emet on this issue of Shir HaShirim and the concept of Shira. So, the Sefat Emet that we're going to learn today is in Pesach Tuf Reish Lamed Hey. That is corresponding to the year. This is 5635, and we are now in 5785. So, of course, this Torah was said 150 years ago in Ger, in suburb as it were of Warsaw, by the Rebbe. He more or less a newly become Rebbe. Okay, he's still in his mid 20s at this point in time, and he's teaching the Torah. The Medrash Shir HaShirim. In the Medrash Shir HaShirim, the Medrash Rabbah, the Medrash says, Nashir Lemi Sha'asa'anu Sharim Ba'olam. Let us sing, let us compose and write in song and in melody, shirim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who made us sharim ba'olam. Again, who made us singers in the world, or as I like to say, who made us poetry. All poetry is song. Now the Medrash is as follows: Shir HaShirim, HaMeshubach Shebeshirim. This is the song above all songs. It's more praiseworthy. HaMeuleh Shebeshirim, HaMesul Sal, the poetic sul l'salsel, the movement, if you will, the turning around of the poetic phrases. Nomar Shirim, we are going to say poems, sing songs. V'nishabeach lemi she'asanu shirim ba'olam, and give praise to God who made us singers of praise to Him in the world. This is the way I prefer to translate the pasuk and the medrash. Nashir lemi she'asanu shirim ba'olam. Now, let's read the Sefat Emet. That's the introduction. He begins as almost always with the medrash. Al pi masha shamati mi pi mori v'Rabbi Zikni zikrona livracha. And I'm going to explain it based on something that I heard from my grandfather, the Chidushei HaRim, who explained Inyan psuki de zimra kodem birkat kriya shema tefillah. Why do we say? So? Shir Shirim Nashir L'Mishasanu Sharim Ba'olam. We're praising Hakadosh Baruch Hu and that He made us singers in the world, poets in the world. Al pi masha shamati mimori v'Rabbi Zikni Zal Inyan Psuki de Zimra. What's the issue of saying Psuki de Zimra? Kodem Birkat Kriyat Shema Tefillah. Why these poems? I always like to say, Jews are pretty remarkable in the sense, and people don't think about this very often. If chas v'shalom, they might be looking at their cell phones, but even if they're not looking at their cell phones and they're saying the words, people don't really understand that they're reciting poetry. And all poetry is not recited, it is sung. Okay? that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the meaning of this is, of all of this is, why is it, okay, it's nice to say, but yeah, the mitzvah is Kriyat Shema, there's a mitzvah Tefillah, so why do we say this before Kriyat Shema and Tefillah? Shehuli tein shir v'shevach al zeh shezochin l'sader shvachav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What are we doing before we say Kriyat Shema? Before we say Shmon Esrei, which is defined as Shevach. Fundamentally, it's Shevach to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know the distinctions within Shmon Esrei, but Shevach and Hodah and Bakasha is that's the content of the Shevach. But now what we're doing is we're saying how wonderful it is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us, we are Zoche. You know, Pesach Zimmer is like, I'm being a little sarcastic now. Pesach Zimmer, people say I can come late to shul and still be on time for Kriyat Shema and Shmon Esrei. And even more so on Shabbos. Pesach Zimmer is that which we are saying, I'm going to say Kriyat Shema. I'm going to recognize monotheism in the world. I'm going to recognize the power of God in the world. I'm going to recognize my need for God in the world, my God's concern for me in the world. Kriyat Shema and Tefillah. Wow. I was zocha to this. I am zocha to this. Right? That we can say this, that we can praise God, that we are of those people who stand and sing the praises of the King. V'zeh shir hashirim shenotein shir ba'avur hashirim. I'm giving song, I'm giving praise, I'm being exalted and exulting in that I can give shir for the fact that I'm going to give shir. Wow. What an honor, what a glory, what a wonderful thing to be chosen to be those who stand before the King, right? That's something. Now in this spot, in this point, okay, so there is, and we're working here with the notes in the Sefat Emet of the Sefat Emet of the Sefat Emet with the notes that I use, the latest Sefat Emet, okay. And in this, we're quoting a Rush in Brachos. The Rush says, "Modim anachnu loch Hashem Elokeinu al shenachnu modim loch." I moded to you. This is in Shmon Esrei. Modim aloch al shenachnu modim loch. Right? And the Rush explains beautifully. Perush al mashes achisanu mikol ha'umot v'keratanu hodot lecha. We're giving praise to God that He chose us. He gave us the merit and the distinction of. He brought us into His court. V'keratanu lahodot lecha. And the Rabbeinu Yonah says the same thing along those lines. Modim anachnu loch adon kol habriot shechiyitanu. I'm giving thanks to you that you brought us to life. V'kiyamtanu v'zachitanu v'siyatanu v'keratanu l'lishmecha. The same idea. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Atah Hashem, kel hodaot. Right? And the Yerushalmi says, Rabbi Bo Bar Zavda b'Shem Rav Modim anachnu loch shanu chayavim lahodas lishmecha. We give thanks and praise to you, right? That you made it an obligation on us, right? Tiranenos fasai ki azamelecha v'nafshi asher padisa, and because you give me life, you redeem me, so let my lips express praise. That's Kel HaHodaot. Okay? And he quotes a Beis Aaron from Kalin. Al zeh amar David Hashem Tiranenos vasai ki azamra lecha ukfi sheshamati mi'adoni Avi Admur Rebosha Mistolin, Tiramnos Vasai Anochi Miranein Lecha Avur Zeh Matana. I praise you, I sing before you for this gift that you gave. What is the gift? Ki Azamra. Ki Yesh Biyadi Lezamar Lecha. That I have the capacity to praise you. It's very difficult in life, very difficult to recognize the debt of the grant, if you will, the grant of life, or of the good that other people do for us, and so on and so forth. Okay, but we get up and we say every morning, Nashir lefisha sanu sharim ba'olam, and we're back in the text of the Sefat Emet. Al pi masha shamati inyam psukei zimra kodem birkas kriya shema tefillah shulitein shir v'shevach al zeh shezochin l'sadeh shochav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'zeh shir hashirim, that I'm giving shir ba'avur hashirim. Continuing. Okay, but there is another, the word shir, if you play with it in Hebrew, shin reish, it's to rule over something. Srara, rulership, sar. Veloshon, so the Sefat Emet says, Veloshon srara gam kain, it's ruling. Okay, ki kafi masha adam shalit al kol ma'asav. What we talk about ruling over this person being subordinate to me, that. But the hardest thing and the most important thing to begin with in life is to be able, right, to rule over what I do, right? Adam shalit al kol ma'asav. I am ruling over everything I do in order that I can direct them, not just because I want to do, but I want to do them in such a way that what I do in life, what I say in life, and what I do in life is all directed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kol ma'asecha yu l'shem shamayim. Me'orer b'china shira sheyesh b'chol hanivraim. And that reality brings a sense of great joy and song and poetry in all of creation, in all of people. V'zeh inyan, when I say in all of creation, there is something that many of you will notice in the after Shmon Esrei, or after Shachris, printed in your Sidurim, some Kaperik Shira, how all the animals, all of creation, has each one its own song of praise to God, and we say that that's the Perik Shira. What do we say on Yom Chamishi, and what do we say on, and so on and so forth. The animals have their own Shira. We have the Shir Shel Yom, but the animals have their own Shira, and we're taking note of that. Ki kol hashirim teluyim bo, because all Shir is dependent upon God. V'shir hashel Adam nikra shir hashirim. Shir of all of creation, I said, is related to God, but all of creation is dependent upon, in some way, upon man, and we are those who say shir hashirim. So there's Perik Shira of the lion and the tiger and the birds and so on and so forth. That's Shira, but we say shir hashirim because we are the masters of praise. We are the masters of song. We are the masters of thankfulness, which is the ultimate, to be able to recognize that we are dependent, and that what you're given in life, that is the ultimate test in life, if you will. The ultimate test in life is to say, on the one hand, there are the two choices. It's all me. I deserve it. Everything, I deserve it. I did it. It's all about me. We won't talk about such figures, but they dominate newspapers. But the ultimate is to say, Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't get up in the morning because I'm Modani lefonecha melech chai v'kayam shechzarta bi nishmasi. I'm alive. You gave me the possibility, and then I go through brachot. Wow, I can think, I can stand on my feet, I can walk, and so on and so forth. All things which we take for granted, sight and sound and everything, and we say, it's all a gift. How sad it is that oftentimes we never appreciate it until it's threatened. We never appreciated it until chas v'sholom, a person might be sick and it could be lost. Chas v'sholom, a person can't walk, a person can't talk, a person can't see, a person can't hear. It's a given, everybody. No, it's not a given. It's that which God grants us every day, right? Now, L'chein zmano b'Pesach zman cheruseinu, and therefore the time for Shir HaShirim is on Pesach. Why? Because Pesach tells us that we're free. It's not something to be taken for granted. It's not something to be understood by itself. It's something to be cause Shira. Wow, I've been free. Sh'adam yotzei bo lecherut. A person goes to freedom. And what is the very, if you will, soul going forth to freedom? The moral going forth to freedom. Look, we are by nature animals. And the animal kingdom, it's dog eat dog. But we are more powerful than anything else. And the word, I always say in English, the only personal pronoun that is always capitalized, and its capitalized form in English is with the Roman numeral uno, which is I. We get up, we say I, we capitalize ourselves, right? And that is part of the Yetzer Hara, when life is only about I, when life is only about taking instead of giving, instead of recognizing what we are granted. Disaster, right? All you have to do is read the newspapers. L'chein oleinu, but be recognizing that right, everything is from God, right, means not to be under the dominion of the Yetzer Hara, of that evil inclination. And the evil inclination is saying, I, right? L'chein, and therefore, if we're in the right track and we recognize it, we have to turn everything towards the grant of God. Lahatot kol hadvarim l'shamayim. All things in the world are things to which we can turn towards heaven. Uksiv b'tzeit Yisrael mi-Mitzrayim. Yisrael, when they go out of Mitzrayim, we say this in Hallel, b'tzeit Yisrael mi-Mitzrayim. B'tzeit Yisrael mi-Mitzrayim. Yisrael are mamshalotav. Yisrael are those perush shemamshichin malchuto yitbarachu memshalto al kol habriot. What does it mean? Those are his dominion. Mamshalotav, those who bring the truth of his dominion into the world. Those who sing of the dominion of God in the world. Shemamshichin malchuto yitbarachu memshalto al kol habriya hanalta. They assign this reality of the world, they assign it to God, and they sing the praises of God in that assignation. And that is B'tzeit Yisrael mi-Mitzrayim. What did we understand? We understand that Yisrael, our function in life, is to say Ki Lashem Hamlucha Umoshel Bagoyim, right? To bring that message into the world. And that's why this is about Pesach, because that is the ultimate meaning of Pesach, the ultimate meaning of what real freedom is. We talk about finding the goodness in all other people. Rabbi Nachman, Reish Pei Beis, Torah says Zamra, again Zemer. You have to find the goodness in yourself and the goodness in other people. But surely one has to find the goodness in the world, and how whatever goodness we find in this world, by the world I mean in this reality in which we live, in life itself that God gives us. And that recognition is essential to the life, to the religious life, to the life of the Jew. B'tzeit Yisrael mi-Mitzrayim. And in the footnote here, he quotes the Ohev Yisrael, the Rebbe, right? And this is quoted in the Siftzei Tzaddik, who was, I believe, a grandson or a great grandson of the Chidushei HaRim. The source is a historical source that the Chidushei HaRim, the grandfather of the and the person who raised the Sefat Emet from when Sefat Emet was orphaned at 8, and the Chidushei HaRim, whom he succeeded as the Rebbe of Gur, raised him. He always would tell the story of when the Chidushei HaRim was at the famous wedding of Abstelia. That could be wrong on the pronunciation of the name of the place, where the Baal Ohev Yisrael, Am Yeshua Heschel, right, said the following thing: HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Ram v'Nisa, ve'ein b'koach shum briah lageshes lahodos. How could you come into the palace of the king? God is so exalted. How could you give praise? Ach Shabbos Kodesh, and that's what we said in Shabbos Kodesh, Poseach v'Omer. It's our Mizmor Shir of Shabbos, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbos, Tov Lahodos Lashem Ulezamer L'Sikas Ola. Right? And he said that the sweetness of this Torah never left the Chidushei HaRim from the time that he was there. Again, like I said, I think he was 18 years old. He was sent by the Yehudi HaKadosh to be the Lamdin who would defend the Pshishas Hasidim against those opponents, without going into that whole story. It's another story. But the sweetness of that Torah, right? The beauty of that Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tov Lahodos Lashem, that we can give thanks, and that's what God wants from us, right? In fact, this notion is a Maharal. The Maharal in Gur Aryeh in the Torah says that when the pasuk says that the world had been created, right? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu had not brought rain to all the vegetation, right? Kilohim tir Hashem Elokim al Adama. God had not brought Talum Matar, right? He says the Adamayin la'avodas Adama, and there was no man to work the earth. So what are the two connected? And the Maharal says, an incredible Maharal. The Maharal says that what is being said here is that God wants only one thing of man, and that is lahodot, to give thanks, to give praise. It's basic decency to give thanks, and thanks is praising, right? So what would be the point of raining and that everything would be watered properly if there's no man to say, Baruch Hashem, it's raining. We'll have a crop of success this year, right? And that, in fact, and I'm adding on to what the Maharal says, that is exactly the problem that what happens in the man doesn't give thanks for what he has. Man, the woman says the snake made me do it, but what does man say? Man says, Ha'isha, she made me do it, right? Why? Suddenly he's blaming her, right? Oh, you gave me, like the Chazal say, you gave her to me. You caused it, right? That's not you. No gratitude whatsoever. Foisting it off the other, and the other that you sang the song, Zotapam, Etzemei Atzamai, this time Etzemei Atzamai, Uvasar Mibsari, Zot Ikarei Isha, Ki Zotapam, as I always say. It's the pamon, the wedding bell. The music is brought into the world, right? And that's what Chazal say, Nebuch, in Avodah Zarah. We are people, we're Kfuyei Tov, we're ingrates, B'nai Kfuyei Tov, B'nai, we are ingrates, descended from ingrates, descended from Adam, right? Shekafa Betova, he said, Isha Asher Nasata, Okay, so we should be this Pesach. We should, with all the difficulties, with all the tzaras, still to be moda ala emes and moda ala tova, right? And in this, I'm just going to add this now because many of you who are listening to this have heard me read this countless numbers of times. There is a person who is not grateful, because his one talent was taken from him. He was a great poet, a great poet. But let us imagine that the poet goes blind, and his ability to write, his ability to compose is lost. What sadness. And this poet writes a poem of complaint, and then a poem that echoes so strongly in me and anybody who really understands it. I first heard Rav Aaron Lichtenstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, refer to this poem. I heard him a number of times referring to this poem. As a kid, I didn't know who Milton was, and I didn't know what Sonnet 19 it was. But I'm going to read the poem, Sonnet 19 by John Milton. John Milton, who went blind in the middle of his life. And he writes, when I consider how my light is spent, it's gone. Ere half my days in this dark world and wide, he's in the middle of his life. And that one talent which is death to hide, lodged with me useless, though my soul more bent to serve there with my Maker and present my true account, lest he returning chide, I would have complained, right? And I would have said in my complaint, doth God exact day labor light denied? How could I do what you denied light to me? Well, a day laborer can't work without the light of day, okay? And I am a day laborer whom has had light extinguished, singing praises that I composed to God. Lest he returning chide, does God exact day labor light denied? I fondly ask. But patience to prevent that murmur soon replies. And then Milton understands something. Quote, God doth not need either man's work or his own gifts. Who best bear his mild yoke, they serve him best. His state is kingly. Thousands at his bidding speed and post o'er land and ocean without rest. But they also serve who only stand and wait. The question is, what does God want from us? Not what do we want, okay, because we think we know. Well, the one thing a Jew knows every morning, Baruch Hashem, I'm alive, I woke up. And what do? I sing praises to God. Moda ani lefonecha melech chai v'kayam. And before Pesach, we're going to read Shir HaShirim, Bashir, the whole Shirah of Pesach. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us the wisdom to understand this Sefat Emet and the goodness of God, Kadosh Baruch Hu's ultimate chesed being clearly revealed in these very, very difficult times. A Chag kasher v'sameach to all.